Good day, you guys. I hope you are all doing well. All right, so it is August 28th, the end of August already, and the market is flying high. At least it is trying to so far. So, a lot of what I've got jumping around in my head right now is how much of this is just kind of being artificially inflated here as we go into the end of this presidential term. All the Fed data is kind of, not usually see stuff like this, that's for sure. I'm going to pull up the NASDAQ, got the MNQ, but that's not going far enough back on our monthly. So we did get that extra push there on the NQ that we were looking at the possibility for. Again, we were looking at this as kind of like that midway zone, and then up here was like our larger target. So we are actually at the upper end of our furthest projections on the NQ right now. So that has me thinking, I'm getting very, very, very cautious here. That's going to load for us, but we can take a look at it here. Oh, I know I'm getting the hibby-jibbies. So we can take a look at this on the daily chart here. You can see the measured move coming out of here. And so what I was looking at was, this original move here and then projecting that up, but we had a longer pause in here than we had over here. So that kind of offered up the chance to shift it, but it didn't do it. So it's still holding up. Momentum, our queen, is still very strong. So what this kind of says for me is that, if we start to get hesitation up here, since we are so extended, we could easily get some more rapid flush moves coming in. Because I think that what is going to happen is that people that have bought these new all-time highs here, it's going to be easy for them to panic. So we are starting to see that to some extent with some of these extreme intraday flushes and how quickly these can come back down. And then they're like second guessing themselves and popping back up. We saw that over here the other day with that beautiful 2T going into the end of the day. And that's the type of thing I think is going to have an easy shot of happening as we go over the next couple of weeks. So these flushes that you're seeing here on the intraday charts, this is a 5-minute time frame. You can see that extreme move here with the extension on that 5-minute time frame. Well, that's really close to what we've got going on now here on the 240-minute time frame. Now we are kind of basing out up here, so maybe we get, some more little traps going on. I was thinking, possibility for a 2T with this range, something that pops up and flushes. That happens a lot at highs because then people think, oh, it's a breakout, and then it gets stuck at like halfway, and then they panic, and that can drive in some really sharp selling. So we saw kind of a preview of that over here, but that can happen on a bigger scale. And the fact that it happened once here just kind of increases the possibility that that can happen again now. So that is what I'm kind of like, what's the word for it? I mean, Donna said it well with the heebie-jeebies, but it's making me more, anticipatory that that can happen and being a lot more cautious on the long side now, even on something that looks like it could be a perfect setup. So let's go take a look at the other indices. Got the ES over here on my other screen. Let me pull this over. And so you can see how these flushes are starting to come into play more, and look at like the bigger hesitation. Just a lot more chop is starting to settle in. Pull up a daily on this. So here's our daily. We are on basically leg 3 on this continuation. It's the strongest of the legs. Well, it was strong, pretty good here coming out of that check markish pattern. But it's the strongest up here. So little shifts, I would look for like ballet feet. And again, those ballet feet can flush. And then we could widen up again. You know, we could get some widening up going on up here. Flushing, oh, recovery, flushing, oh, recovery. I mean, that's the type of thing that could happen up here. And then November, there's November looming. And I think people are going to get more and more nervous as that gets closer and closer and closer. And we're going to start to see a lot more profit taking coming into play. No matter what the outcome ends up being, I think that we're going to see that starting to come in. So on our intraday right now, it's kind of interesting. So we had, you know, some buy setups down here. We had a 2-wave and then the third little push straight back into the support. So basically it's treating this like a 2-wave correction with a longer base, but normally this would go pretty well. So it's kind of struggling here to get even that next continuation trying to go. Maybe it can go with a check mark here. That's still a possibility, but it's definitely struggling a little bit more. I'll show you the larger 20,000 tick here. So what we were looking at was the possibility that this could go to a 2T, that it could treat this where we could get an inverse head and shoulders, and this could go to a 2T where we basically end up with a momentum reversal plus. So we've been looking at this possibility here for a couple of days, and I think it's still possible, but it's really struggling to try to get that extra breakout coming there that we would need to complete that pattern. So I've been playing this here on the long side, you know, looking for that possibility to come back into play. But so far, not the confirmation of it yet. I do still have part of a position on, but let's look at the details here. So here's where I started building into that position, and then I added in here and then been taking some out at these levels just because this move here was as strong as the first move. So I thought, hey, you know what? Same time correction, same time correction. That really should have gone there, shouldn't it, guys? Yeah, this is playing out a bit longer than I would like to see. So treating this as like a wave 1, and this is wave 2 of a tilted phoenix here. That's only about halfway back up in the range. It really should not have gotten stuck there for a lot of strength. So I've tightened up things on the rest of this. If it does go and do like another check mark, I'll look to add back into it. But right now, I've dropped down and I'm using some more advanced trade management on this here because I do not like how long this is taking to get going. Let me put on, I'm tired, you guys. I'm gonna put on yawned on you. Whoops. On this correction here. Oops. I don't want the ellipse. I want a rectangle. So here's the first zone. Kind of was like a little bit of a megaphone. And then here is our second one. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this as the 2-wave in the middle to kind of tell me that, hey, that's the dividing point there between them. So right there, that's where I wanted to see that confirmation, and we haven't gotten it. So this 2-wave here is kind of like the last attempt at a hurrah to get going. Asking me about gold on the larger time frame. So I've been in gold here today too. I mean, gold went parabolic. So gold is at the widening up zone. So it's more like back and forth. So what I'm doing is I'm just playing the intraday on gold now. I think we're going to get some nice swings. I mean, we're already seeing that. Let me just grab some of the charts here on it for you. It was kind of trying to do an avalanche, but it had such a strong pullback that it struggled to get the avalanche going. So when we look at this here, this is at that parabolic level, and it pulled back more than a third. So it's harder for this to go and put new highs now. Up at that level, it's more of a back and forth. It could just kind of creep lower. I'm kind of expecting more of a trading range on this, really. Here's what we've got going on this. What I thought was going to happen as we were kind of heading into this week was that with this extreme move down, we could get like a slower attempted move down here like this, and then a shift, and then that would pop it back up. That's what I wanted to see, you guys, because that would have allowed for this to break higher very easily to come back up and, at least do like a double test or something of that high. And this breakdown portion just wasn't as much as I wanted to see. So it kind of leaves me a little more uncertain here in the middle. I'm going to show you guys what's going on here on even smaller time frames. So I'm just kind of going with the day trades in here right now. I'll show you my 100 tick too. Read the NASDAQ. Yeah, I mean, so not going there, that's going to make me want to look for reversal patterns. Here. So here's what we've got going on gold, and you can see it had, a pretty nice check mark Phoenix here, rounding off as basically a momentum reversal plus, but it didn't have the extra low there to kind of create the trap of the plus part. So here were the three lows, 1, 2, 3, broke the channel, popped to a pullback, but it was kind of an upper level pullback. So it didn't do an extra flush down here. We got the V, the Phoenix. And so this morning I've just been going with that. Here's the trade that I've been kind of playing along with here. Is it pulled back again, it did the momentum reversal, and then it went into a Phoenix. So I've just been kind of playing these, and each time I get like a measured move, I'm taking some off and then adding back in when I get a continuation. So 2 waves up, pulls back, been buying kind of the support levels, 2 wave up, got out. I didn't buy this last one though. We were going into class, I didn't add back in there. So I'm out of this here. What I was kind of looking at too was this as a measured move here on the smaller time frame. So what's helping push this up again still is that it had this little shift again here. So that's still kind of keeping that uptrend in play, but maybe we could get a 2T or something here now on the shorter time frame. But this was a really good example of a checkmark Phoenix. What you guys noticed from our discussions over the last couple of weeks is that it formed the pullback and the halfway point here. And that's why when this hit this level, I took off part of the trade because it's a measured move here to here. And then when it developed into a continuation, I added back in. But I waited for the continuation. So that helps me, get back into it so that I was back up to full size. But the risk was that it could have had a bigger pullback and bigger correction. So this is the same type of thing that we've got going on in gold. See how this pulled back like that? So this is kind of like what I'm looking at, like, gold potential on some bigger time frames. I think this could flush more here, actually. It kind of looks, a lot like what the NASDAQ is just trying to do here on the 10-second chart. So, yeah, I would suspect that this ballet foot is going to see some more selling. SPOT. I'm just going to kind of breeze through some of these here. Like I said, I've got to leave a little bit early today, you guys. I have to go get my kid over to his well child visit. But here is the ballet foot here. So we see it came down with the two waves and shifted with the momentum reversal. So this has room to come back up and try to trap again up there. Want to see maybe like a shifted check mark in here to try to pull that up more. But that looks like it has room unless we get some sort of reversal pattern midway here. UAL, we have this low level Phoenix trying to develop. It's midway. So again, your check mark here is in the midway zone. So this to this is like a first resistance level that it's going to have to tackle. And here it pulled back again more than 50% into spacing 50%. So even there, you're going to have to deal with it. So this is going to be facing a lot of upside resistance to try to break through. So that makes me a little nervous as far as like the buys go, because this could just as easily end up kind of popping up here and then, coming back down with kind of a shallow avalanche. Right now, the bulls are still in control, but it is a slippery hold that they have on it. Let's just put it that way. Big C. What is this? This is something I've not seen before. It's all new stock for me to be taking a look at here. And we've got the trend exhaustion going on here. So it's in the widening up zone. Two wave move back down. It couldn't even manage two waves back up. Oh, they have a deal with Instagram. Okay, gotcha. So looking like maybe like a shallow avalanche here for another pullback before it tries to do support again. So 1 and 2. So we might get a little pop up here again around, this level. But I think that a lot of the excitement is out of this thing already. This wasn't just like a base pause at highs. See how these base paused at highs here, here, and then even here? This paused and then it kept like pushing and shifting, and that shift in the momentum makes it a little bit harder for that to get going again. I would want to watch this probably like on the 15-minute is the time frame that I would stick to for trying to find another setup on that. But at this level, I wouldn't do anything. If I was in it, I think it has the possibility of trying to take out this low here to flush that before it would try to hold and bounce again. But these type of things, unless I can get in early or I'm playing like a day trade type of strategy, I tend to just leave them alone. So like an example of a day trade type of strategy would be the little avalanche continuation there. You know, that would be one example. Watch the things that have like a lot of range though in the bars, because they try to pull your stops out really easily when that happens. This one's not too bad. There's definitely a lot of ones that are worse. But it also means that your stop compared to your target level is going to be bigger. Here's the zone on the NASDAQ that has to hold here, but with a megaphone, but it's kind of iffy. I don't know. Doesn't look so great. Jets here trying to do another base. Needs a second wave in here. So this is something, you know, we could get maybe some sort of a check mark later on an intraday. Oh, this is the euro dollar. What on earth is going on here? Oh, my charts didn't link there. Okay, so anyways, on the euro dollar here, that has a check mark pattern, but let's go back and find that Jets. Here's Jets. Check mark. So you're that the only one that's not linked? Yeah, weird. Let's fix that. It's coming up to measure move, but there's still a little bit of wiggle room up there. So we could get a little tiny bit of some higher highs. It's a lot like UAL, isn't it, you guys, down here? See how these are all kind of like lower level, like it pulls back a 50%. You got your inverse head and shoulders there, but then it pulls back again 50%. And, you know, maybe like a check mark there would help it pull back up again one more time. All these airlines. I don't think it's going to go too much, though. I don't think we're looking at any sort of like big recovery or anything. It's going to be quite a while. I mean, this is something where there's been fundamental changes within the industry. So not looking at any major recovery on that, just some shorter term little pops. But then I could easily see those then go into a situation where they just kind of steadily come back down again. I'm not expecting any like major move one way or the other. Just kind of a gradual loss of interest. Facebook, you've got a good parabolic exhaustion up here too on the daily on Facebook. Weekly. There's your 1, 2, 3 extension. So this can pull in more. This should correct here for a few more days, at least. This is one of those that can, again, you know, kind of come in a little bit more slowly. But you're at that widening up zone here. So it's day trader realm, because if you're looking to swing trade this, you're going to get chopped back and forth. Let's pull up, I got time for 2 more, you guys. I'm going to pull up some Forex pairs here quick. Look up that euro on the larger time frame. Kind of did a lot like what gold did, where it tried to do the fake on the downside and then just didn't 60-minute daily. So daily, we're still hanging out at that 100% extension. And it's still trying to shift up there. The weekly still has that extra room. You know, we're projecting that 76.4% is going to end up hitting here before we see another correction. I think that that is still the case. I don't see anything to suggest otherwise. So I would look for a check mark for continuation. This was a really pretty one actually going into this morning overnight session. That was a beautiful example there. But yeah, that's what I'm expecting, is just to continue to try to push up here into that. And then Aussie dollar will be a little bit different. Let's take a look at that one here. So you can see it's already trying to do that push. Let's put the retracements on this one. So it's getting there. So again, also still thinking that's going to happen too. And, you know, the way these are holding, I wouldn't be surprised if they, you know, after they stall at like the 76.4, that they still manage to keep going. Just expecting a stall there at those levels. That'll be about a measured move too on this this kind of break there. So a little bit of a stall there. A lot of times when something's pulling back up into 76.4, I'll put like the 50% as a target. In this case, I'm not expecting that much. I would say, you know, maybe 61.8, but this is so much more extreme than the downside that it's easier for it to go and still push into the 100%. So we'll watch that momentum as it comes up to those levels, but I would not want to trade against this trend right now. All right, ABT, we'll look at Abbott fast, and then we're gonna call it a session, you guys. It's rare that I actually stick to our 30-minute allotted time for forward focus, but we are going to do that here today. So ABT, you know, really is close to that measured move again here on weekly. I would call this a bit of an exhaustion gap here. It might try to push a little bit higher, but I think it's going to be hard. I think that it's going to try to pull in more on the gap, but it's right at a do or die point though. So what I'm seeing here is that if this is going to try to do like a shallow phoenix, it needs to go. It has to go here. You can see we've got, you know, news issues that are popping things. But if it's going to go as a shallow phoenix, it really has to go. So it would look like that is what we're looking at with this as like the two-way bounce in the middle. So this is first correction, this is second correction. Notice it's low level. So what we would need to see is that coming out of that small little phoenix that's trying to form now, it would need to pop with really strong momentum, you guys. Here's that low level. So you really want to see that starting to bring in some powerful momentum. It's going to be tricky there, Jay. I know it's making news and stuff a lot right now too. And that's another thing, is that the news can easily flip it. What is nice about Abbott is that it trades well. I mean, it's a very technical security. So you're going to see that is going to be the case. So it can try to go here, but we'd want to see it go right away. You guys are NASDAQ. I got trailed out of this on the rest. Let me show you. But we knew as soon as it didn't go at that do or die spot, it was in trouble. Here's that time. Look at it. So it's way past time development now. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, okay. One more, Reggie. Just for you. And then I gotta hustle my kid in the car. So see here, this is a lot like what we can expect like airlines can try to do. You know, the way that these have tried to do like these pops here, this is what I'm concerned is going to happen with airlines. Here, ugh, it shouldn't have pulled back this much. That's going to be hard for this to keep going. So it popped here, second pop. This pop is stronger, but then it went and pulled back all this way, and really we would have needed more like a kneecap. So my concern is it's going to repeat what happened over here. And it's kind of like what the NASDAQ is trying to do with the break that it tried to have and just couldn't sustain it. So here you've got this little low level base. It's probably going to flush down one more time in here. Then maybe you get a little bit of a pop, but overall, I think it's going to be really hard to recover this one. All right, you guys, I am out of here. Can you drive? Not quite. Stick him in the car by himself. Here you go. I gotta follow the markets, kid. All right, you guys, I will see you back here next week. So have a wonderful rest of your trading day. And I'll get that link up from Nicole too for a recording from your guys' session last night as well. So keep an eye out for that.